I'm Jake Hugessen. I'm a hockey player from Toronto. This is my first off-season training at LPS. I'm heading down to Boston next week. Played in New Jersey in the EHL last year, and I'll be playing in Boston in the EHL this upcoming season. I've always had some doubts about how I've been training and preparing for these past seasons. So I felt like at the end of last year I needed to find somewhere where it was going to make it easy for me to put the work in and succeed. So I did a little looking around of places in Toronto near where I live about where I could work out, and LPS just ended up at the top of my list after a couple of phone calls where I ended up. It's my first off-season training here, and I'm super excited to see what year 2 is going to bring. So I remember coming in, I actually remember my first week here, we were doing some hurdle jumps and there were a couple guys who were jumping with me, and I remember looking at those thinking like, wow, I can't even, I wasn't even close to jumping over those, and just using something as little as that, nowadays it's basically a warm-up. So yeah, definitely the training cycles, the way they were set up, allowed me to work up to my maxes and then start back again the next week, with higher reps. And it takes a couple months for sure. The first couple of months I remember, I was sore when I woke up, I was sore when I went home, I was sore when I trained, all the time. And then you give it a couple of months, and eventually you wake up one morning and you're like, oh, my knees don't hurt, my back doesn't hurt. But yeah, so I could definitely feel physically and mentally as I progressed throughout the summer, and I've never felt better heading into this season. So as a goalie, you kind of, a lot of people overlook the need for strength and explosiveness. But since the first day I was in here, I was working with clients on just making sure that first step was explosive and strong, and I've never felt better on the ice with my core stability, my legs, stability as well as strength. I feel smooth and controlled all the time, which is definitely a big improvement. And it's actually been what I've been trying to fix in my game for years now, and I guess I never realized that it started in the gym, and being stronger and being more controlled starts with just getting stronger. So especially as a goalie, I've always dealt with groin and hip issues and some knee pain pretty much my whole life and my whole hockey career, to be honest. And I've always thought it was based on being too tight or not stretching enough or not warming up, and that definitely helps, but I've felt the most improvement through training through the full range of motion. Everything we do here is full range of motion, and even if it's not directly working my groin or my hips, the stability and the strength that I feel there is I've never felt that before. So the biggest results that I've seen and mostly felt have been on the ice. I feel stronger, I feel quicker, I feel way more in control of my movements. And I just think in general I can get from point A to point B a lot quicker, and most importantly, more efficiently. No more wasted movement. I feel like one of my biggest issues have been a lot of wasted movement, not a lot of efficiency in moving on the ice. And just getting stronger in here from basically head to toe has helped me stay calm and quick on the ice. For the last few years, I've started to try to take my training seriously. I say try because looking at that, I'd almost laugh at what I was doing last year. I'd show up to a gym, public gym. One day I'd do push, one day I'd do pull, next day I'd do legs. And just looking back at that, I got bigger even than I was now, but I felt slow. I felt just clumsy, clunky. Everything felt slow, and it was not high intensity at all. I'd go in and I'd say I'd train to failure on bench or squats or whatever it was, but nothing compares to showing up to LPS and getting on the platform, and you got to go through your 5 sets of snatch, 5 sets of clean, and then you still got to squat. Some days you still got to bench. So definitely a big difference from what I was doing the last few years, even though my goal has been to train hard for a few years now. That's why I came here, was to have someone to push me training here, like, you know, you sit down, you got someone yelling at you to get up and do your next set. Even if you just repped out 6 reps on back squat at 10 kilos below your max, and all of a sudden they got you right back up there. You know, it's definitely built my cardio, and I feel like my legs are fresher, longer on the ice. You know, and I played a few games this summer, and you know, heading into the last period, and I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fine, and you know, that translates mentally as well, knowing that, you know, you're more prepared than everybody out there, knowing that, you know, you are what you say you are and you put the work in. That definitely makes it easier to succeed on the ice, and especially as a goalie, a very mental position. Just having that confidence, like the very real confidence too. You know, I've always thought I had confidence, but when you've worked at LPS your entire off season, you go into that year more confident. You know, really more confident than you ever have. Dominate to me is, you know, every day you wake up and you dominate whatever you got on that day. You show up to LPS and you get your workout done, and you know, by then you've already done more than half of your competitors have done by the time you finish that workout. Dominating just the little things, you know, like I learned this summer, it's more than just learning how to lift and like on the platform and what to do, but you know, I really learned how to eat. I learned how, you know, I needed to sleep to perform in this gym. And I think dominating starts with that, with the little things, you know, with eating right the night before, sleeping right the night before, waking up, having a good breakfast. And then, you know, you show up, and I wouldn't say it's the easy part, but you know, the hardest part is preparing yourself to get in here, and you get in here, you just do the work. You know, the culture here, the culture is definitely a family. I felt that from week 1 for sure, from day 1 even. You know, you come in here and you're just surrounded by people, whether it's in the gym, on the ice, or wherever, that want to see you do well for yourself. And I remember driving home one day and just thinking that, like, wow, this is where I want to be, because, you know, I got people around me that want to see me do well. And you don't really realize how big of an effect that has on your training and your performance. But when you want to come in somewhere because you know, like, he's there to push you, and he may be yelling at you, but it's coming from a good place, you know, it makes it a lot easier to come in here and work out every day. And I've definitely, you know, met some friends that I'll definitely have for the rest of my life. From the first day I got in here, I remember, I mean, the coaching staff, Clance, changed up almost everything that I've ever been doing. You know, I came in here, I started warming up with my bands. I was telling him my foot was hurting. He asked me why. Oh, I've been training for a half marathon. Looked at me like I had 3 heads. And you know, he told me stop doing that, but he also told me why. He explained why. I remember actually that day I had about 45-minute conversation with him just on this floor, just talking about why what I was doing was wrong, who he's seen done that, and how that affected their career. And you know, it makes it a lot easier to listen to someone and to follow what they preach when they explain why, and are always happy to help, like, make sure that you understand, because like when I really started to understand why I was doing what I was doing here, that's when I started seeing the most results and wanting to really come in here, because you know, progress is addicting. When you start seeing that progress, you want to be in here every day. There'd be Thursdays, there'd be Saturdays and Sundays where I'm like, damn, I can't go in and lift today. So just, you know, seeing all that and knowing why it's helping is definitely a good thing in your training. I'd say for any younger athletes coming up in hockey and goaltending especially, I can speak on that better. You know, you just trust the process. I was never the best. I was never, you know, I was never the best growing up. I was probably very average growing up. You just got to trust it. If you really love what you do, you're going to get further than 90% of people. And you know, Clance loves to tell me this, but you know, the hard work it becomes easy work once you've been at it. You know, the hardest part is mentally. You know, physically you can do whatever it is in here, but mentally showing up, and you know, it gets a bit of a grind. The dog days of August, you know, it's 30 degrees, you're waking up and you just know you're going to go in there and lose 10 pounds of sweat. But yeah, just trust the process, because it's all going to work out if you put the work in and if you truly love what you're doing.